Willie, what about that? Where have you seen the most disruption, and where can you talk to us about the technology being applied to practical daily life?
Well, I'm from Indonesia, and we're talking about people here, and the world is bigger than just America. Actually, most of the people are living in the tropical regions and are still living with a very low level of technology. They're still looking for the basic needs of water and food and education, and indeed also communication, but also cultural values, and that they can feel secure about the education of their children, that they can feel secure about the future. So the whole urbanization that is taking place now and the technology in the cities that is developing there is not a very sustainable one. In the tropical regions, we still have vast amounts of land, but we don't have jobs. So we need to look at more simple, ecological, sustainable systems that are going to be based basically upon what can sustainably be produced, be based upon present-day sunshine. And there are ways to provide energy from this tropical belt where you have all this rainfall, all these people, all this land, and the right climate in terms of solar radiation. So the technology that is needed there is actually very, very different from what we are discussing here. So I feel indeed very far away from my home. There we need technology that does not break down, which is simple, which is reliable. And we need to look at systems that can function as an integrated unit. So where on the one hand you can produce sugary juice from the sugar palms that I'm working with, but use that juice to produce ethanol for local fuel, so people don't need to cut down the trees, that they can also yield electricity from that, use that electricity to have a satellite link, which can indeed be used for communication, so that that village can not only have remote diagnostics for the mini factory, but also can sell their products at the right time, at the right price, and that they can also jointly buy products. In this way, we can maintain local communities, but on a low level of technology. So it's very interesting to see where this is all heading, but we are looking at the major part of the world, which is looking at very different technological issues.
Can I respond to the thing about where things are most exciting? Because clearly we enjoy the digital revolution, we're still enjoying it, and we need to do the green stuff.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the decade, the thing that's going to amaze us the most is the kind of thing that my partner Brooke Byers and the people on that panel talked about, is that we're going to probably have a cure for some of these diseases, and we can bring healthcare through personalized medicine more affordably to people. In the developing world, maybe the biggest improvements will come, as they did in the Western world, from cleaner water for a lot of people. But I think we'll also see treatments for many forms of cancer and other things that have been, will just astonish us that it finally happened, because we've been talking about it for so long. I'm really excited about that possibility.
Talk to us more about that, because you were telling me yesterday that there are ways to zero in on, let's say it's cancer or another disease, and look at the person's genes to see exactly what the basis of the disease is, and then analyze it and come up with a specific drug. Talk to us more about that.
Right, well, we can look inside what's going on, not only the genes of a cell, but what genes are expressed and what's going on in the metabolism of the cell, to understand what drug is likely to work for the person and even to begin to tailor it, and also be able to understand what the mechanisms are by which cancer and other diseases communicate. These are multicellular organism diseases, and there are different kinds of pathways, and we can go in and interfere with the pathway or provide something to restore a pathway with an understanding of the systems involved. It's not easy to get these things to work, but with computing as a tool and these new kinds of machines that can see what's going on, and smart people working on the problem, we have really strong hope of substantial advances in medicine, which we need to reduce the cost of care in the Western world and to provide basic medical care in the rest of the world.
But may I interfere? We have so many biodiversity in the tropics. We have all these different cultures. People have know-how about local plants. All this cultural know-how and medicinal know-how is becoming extinct. And we are now facing climate change. What people are only talking about is the glaciers melting, but we have also a change in the El Nino patterns. And what is happening is that the mass flowering of trees in the tropical rainforest is now totally disturbed. Before, they would have millions of seeds every 4 or 5 years. the animals could eat whatever they want, and there would be millions of seedlings surviving. But because of that climatic cycle has now been disturbed, the seeds fall one by one and have all been destroyed. So for the last 16 years, not a single seedling of the tropical hardwood trees has grown up. So if you lose the whole upper canopy in that forest, you're going to lose 50% of that biodiversity. So we are losing here know-how and species at a speed which is unprecedented in history. So there we should also be focusing simple on the work of inventory and getting to preserve that know-how which could benefit. For example, the palm sugar I'm working with, the people that using palm sugar, they have virtually no diabetes. It was already written in 1409 that palm sugar was exported to China as a medicine for diabetes. Here in the United States, you have an obesity crisis, so maybe you might be interested in getting some of this palm sugar over here. You have less heart and coronary diseases and less obesity. So why not make use of this enormous natural richness and not go spending all the money only on these very advanced technological breakthroughs? There's still so much to be gained from what the local people know.
Which is what you were saying, Kevin. I'm sorry, pardon me.
Yeah.
As far as things becoming more specific and complex.
Right. This goes to what Bill was saying, that what we want is all the above. Technologies do best when they're a suite and ecology of them, and we want just not the newest things. We also want to develop old things as well. But what we can have in this sort of technium is continue to find out what lives on this planet and use those things and develop those while we do others. So it is an and/or thing. We want both. And what we want with specialization is that eventually everything becomes specialized down to the individual. So that personalization is that specialization run extreme. So we want both.
You also need to be able to integrate all these
Yes.
different fields of know-how.
Absolutely.
And actually, there is a very old database in the world that allows you to connect any kind of information to any other kind.
The web?
No, it's the Linnaean binomial classification, the Latin names of a genus and a
Sure.
species. If you think about it, any kind of information in the world can be connected to a living organism. So you can now build a relational database. So here from the very
Sure.
basic sciences, you could actually do a lot for the very advanced technological breakthroughs.
And so people and economies are getting smarter faster as a result of what we're seeing.
Yes. I think that's another thing we can expect. What technology wants is it's acceleration of speed. It's increasing the evolvability of the entire system. So we can expect, despite the fact that we're all going to regret it, in a certain sense, that things are going to get even faster and faster. That's going to be the nature of it. And we have to, I think a lot of the kind of short attention span that we think we have, and that some people see as a problem of going from Twitter to this or to that, going from reading about biology to reading about physics to reading about the gossip, that this is actually something that we need to do right now because of the speed of things happening. This is an adaptation that we have evolved just to keep current because things are going faster.
I think it was, you said to me yesterday, Kevin, that nothing is growing as fast today as data.
Right. Well, information is the fastest growing thing on this planet. There's nothing, no biological entity, no physical manufacturing entity that's increasing at the same speed that information is. And so one of the reasons is because when you have information, you can also have information about that information, so it just blooms, it just blossoms and explodes. And so this data flow is actually the new matrix that we're going to be working in, and that is a problem, and that's an opportunity.
Well, we hope that the appropriate technologies and the appropriate new social systems, you know, Nicholas's new way of educating girls in Afghanistan and so on, and the new kind of social systems and ecological restoration that Willie does, that demonstrations of those that are successful will go through the social media and thereby be more rapidly adopted.
Absolutely.
Because we can't continue to behave the way we have, and so we need a lot of behavioral change, and communicating success from social entrepreneur to social entrepreneur, from business to business, is our best chance of getting rapid change. And we need it in medicine, and we need it at the practical level. And I also think, you know, cancer sucks, as John Doerr said. You know, we got to fix cancer too, and you know, we'll get those, and we'll get basic needs met too. I think we can do all of this, and the social media will help us hopefully cause that change in the 10,000 flowers of social entrepreneurship to happen more quickly.
Yes.
Nicholas?
Can I give you an example of technological inevitability that most people are appalled by? And that is that books will not exist in about 5 years.
As paper.
Paper.
Does everyone in the audience, who
Now, but
agrees with
let me
that
finish
statement?
the sentence, and then we'll see. Because but no, let me finish, only because the argument against books as paper objects turns out to be the developing world. As a luxury medium in the developed world, the same way we go to opera and so on, physical books will survive, and they'll have a long life. But when we ship one of these into a village, it has 100 books in it. But when we ship 100 of them into a village, what people don't realize is that they each have 100 different books. So that's 10,000 books in that village. You and I didn't have 10,000 books when we went to primary school. I cannot take those 10,000 books and convert them at ½ a pound each, or whatever the weight is, and physically ship them. It's just not, it's not possible. In the same way that film back in the late 80s was inevitably going to go away, and even though companies like Kodak were in denial, we can predict that books will do the same. And yet people say, oh, no, no, no. Well, of course you like your libraries, and of course there's a physical and tactile thing, and so on and so forth. But think back to the music industry in your youth and how technology played a role in music. It was hi-fi. It was making the music sound better, allowing you to be someplace you couldn't be because the orchestra was there. What kid on the planet today cares about hi-fi? They listen to this god-awful sound, but they're interested in playlists and sharing it and so on. Books are going to do the same thing. People want to share them. They want to read them. They want to annotate them. They want to transmit them. They want to receive them. They want to do all those things. And that verisimilitude of the woofers and the tweeters and so on is the same as trying to sort of get verisimilitude out of a book. And it's happening. It's not happening in 10 years. This is happening in 5 years. And I don't know if Jeff's still here, but I think last week Amazon ebooks surpassed paper books.
Right.
I think that was last week.
Right.
Wow. A milestone, a real milestone.
So I would like to pick up something that